There's always new emojis coming out, and they have a whole list of emojis that we are going to be using soon. Like, for example, a new one, a face in the clouds, and that is to signify, they say, confusion, a foggy feeling, or even just bliss. There's an exhaling face now to show relief, disappointment, or exhaustion. Now to come, a burning heart, which could stand for passionate lust, or scorching, they say, a past relationship and just walking away. Then there's the new emoji that's going to stand for the year 2020. What do you think it is? Okay, anybody know it's not a bomb? It's a face with spiral eyes, an emoji that's swapped like with swirl eyes and X's on them, which they say signifies Disneyness, disorientation, or general, what the heck is going on? Okay, but emojis really aren't new. When you come to think about it, Facebook is a lot like ancient Egypt. Okay, follow me on this. Okay, people write on walls, they use emojis, and they worship cats, right? There we go. We got Facebook. And you see, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls of all ages, just an example of all the fun that we have here week after week as we talk about living the best digital life ever. You can find us on 400 proud stations from coast to coast and around the world on American Forces Network Radio. And I'm sure you have at least a few questions about something digital I can lend a hand to. And our T-Mobile Unlimited listener line is now open at 1-888-825-5254. Once again, is the way to join us. All right, we like to start the show with 5 things that you need to know. Every single day, it seems like all I do is just scour the tech news sites and all the AP wires and routers, and it just goes on and on and on because, well, we have daily news on our social media feeds. We have it on our website. We have our breaking tech news alerts. We have podcasts. We have our consumer tech update that you hear on this station, or maybe you're getting it every single day as a free podcast. But let's start with surveillance, okay? How many times do you think that you're being captured by security and traffic cams? Okay, here's a hint. It's a lot more than you think because it's become so easy to prove or disprove that you are at a certain location at a certain time. And that's even more so if you carry a smartphone, because think of all the technology in that. You're basically on camera everywhere you go. And with your cell phone data, your every move is tracked all the time. And in some of the recent rioting, people have been arrested and charged with vandalism, looting, or worse, days, even weeks after the fact. So even when you're obeying the law, say you're out for a run, you're walking the dog, maybe you're just taking the trash cans out. Okay, you're being caught on camera. Remember that number I asked you about in the beginning? Okay, almost 250 times a week. Wow, think about that. You probably didn't even know that. So who's watching and who's recording? Well, everybody and anybody. Your next door neighbor with their Ring doorbells, and we have home security cams. Wherever you shop, local government. I guess the government really listens to the people after all, but to be caught on camera that many times a week, having that number in our head just puts everything into focus. All right, number 2, very sad story about ransomware. On September 9th, a woman desperately needing emergency treatment for a life-threatening condition died. That's right, she died during a ransomware attack that crippled the Dusseldorf, Germany University Hospital. You see, all patient and administration records were scrambled. And just think of all the modern medical equipment that relies on a basic internet connection and goes through servers. Okay. During the attack, hospital officials had no choice but to turn patients away, including the woman that I mentioned who died about an hour later while she was en route to another hospital, but that one was 20 miles away. It's just awful. Now, here's what's made the situation even worse. It was all a mistake. That's right. Police discovered that the attackers were really trying to hit a nearby school, but inadvertently hit the hospital. It's absolutely horrible, but here's the thing. All of this was so easily avoidable if IT departments would keep all the data backed up in real time, together with an emergency plan to get the data back where it needs to be. We can show you how to do that at Komando.com. And if you're a small business, medium, even large-sized business, do yourself a favor, do your company a favor. Make sure that in the unlikely event of a ransomware attack where somebody comes in and says, we're going to grab all of your data and all of your servers, and unless you pay us $300 or $30,000, whatever that number is, because it's not just ransomware attacks on hospitals and universities. It's happening on school districts. Actually, that's the number one attack right now, but also people at home. Just make sure that you have everything backed up, because if something does happen, Well, then you can just tell those attackers to just pound sand because you don't need to even pay them or think about it. Just disregard the notice and then restore your backup and you're good to go. Number 3, this is really something. I mean, when I saw this video, I actually was like, oh my gosh, everybody, you need to see this video. And we are writing about it on our website in case you actually want to see the video. Because Amazon just had their big fall event. Okay, here's what happens in the fall. You have Google, you have Microsoft, and of course you have Apple, is that they all like to announce all their new products this time of year. Why? Well, because Christmas is just right around the corner, right, silly? And so this way you have everything that you can put on that shopping list. So Amazon had their big gig this past week, and they rolled out new Echoes and new gadgets and new Eros and Ring cameras. But this is the doozy. For $250, you can buy the all-new Ring Always Home Cam. Okay, it's the latest security camera for inside your home, but it is nothing like anything that you've seen before because this security cam flies. That's right. So let's say you're not home. There's a security alert in some part of the house. The flying Ring will actually automatically go check it out, and then you can monitor what happens with your phone. You can check out other parts of the house. You can make sure that the dog isn't getting into trouble. Amazon says the Always Home Cam only records video during flight. That's right. It's a little camera drone that will fly around your entire house. And they say the camera is actually blocked when it's docked. It sounds like an average drone, really. It debuts next year, and during the 1-hour event, Amazon actually announced a lot of new tech, new Echoes that are around a Ring car camera and alarm, Eero Pro Mesh Wi-Fi 6 routers, amazing. And we've got the whole list over at Komando.com. But, you know, the Ring Always Home Cam is the creepy tech that nobody really anticipated. And here we all just thought that drones were for the outside. And speaking of Amazon and new tech, I don't know if you remember, but last year I told you about Amazon Sidewalk. Yes. What was that? Yes. Basically, it's a way that neighborhoods would have the option to create their own networks through multiple devices. So if you have a whole bunch of Amazon products, is that they will connect and create their own mesh network so that everybody has a stronger signal. And it's called Sidewalk. The service is going to officially launch later this year. And if you're worried about the potential privacy implications, Amazon pinky swears that the Sidewalk network uses 3 layers of encryption to keep your data safe across all your devices and that your neighbors won't be able to actually see what's going on. So now we have Prime Delivery, we have Prime Video, and now we have Prime Tracking. Okay, this story is unbelievable. Okay, imagine you're sitting there and for years, this whole town that you're living in gets a really crappy internet connection. It just doesn't work. So come with me as we travel across the pond, and we're going to go to a small village in Wales. And for the past year and a half, the people in this village have been dealing with constant internet outages and slowdowns. Okay, they've called the experts, they've called the support lines, and they're like, you know what? We have tried everything. We just don't know why it happens. The internet goes up and down. Okay, so we're just going to have to depend upon you all to figure it out. And they're like, no, it's not us, it's you, it's the connection. So a few days ago, as a last resort, an engineering team came out to the village with a hunch. They thought about something, and it was just this torrential rain, but they were carrying a spectrum analyzer. And yes, I have carried one myself in my neighborhood. And they were testing for spikes of electrical interference along their path. And finally, bingo, in this village, they see it. It's right there in front of them. The analyzer picked up a big burst of electrical interference coming from just one of the homes in this village in Wales. Well, inside that house was an older gentleman. And inside the house with the older gentleman was an old TV. And he turned on that television every day at 7 a.m. because he wants to watch the morning news. And every time he'd turn on that TV at 7 a.m., the old TV would trigger a type of electrical interference that would knock everybody else in the village offline. Gosh, could you imagine? Imagine knowing that you were the person who turned on your TV and then just wiped out the whole internet connection for everybody in the village. Yeah, it would be shocking. All right, having bad Wi-Fi in your house, speaking of, is the absolute worst. The dead spots, the annoying buffering, the frustrating lag. I have a house in California that's made of steel, and that whole thing is like living in a big Faraday cage. Well, it was until I came in and I installed Eero. And John actually came out, part of our IT team, and he and I just made sure that that house was covered with Wi-Fi from top to bottom. And Eero is an Amazon company, and it covers your entire home with fast, reliable Wi-Fi inside and out. And you're going to love it when Eero makes every square foot of your house usable. It really does. You'll have a consistently strong signal all over, even when the entire family's online. It's super easy to set up. You can set up amazingly fast Wi-Fi with Eero, really, in under 10 minutes. Just plug Eero right into your modem, and boom, that's it. You're good to go. I use Eero. I depend on it, and you should too. You know, we're asking a lot of our Wi-Fi with all the gadgets that we have connected. I don't know if you remember last week we had a guy on the show, 5,000 square foot house. He had 47 devices connected to his Wi-Fi, and he was wondering why it was being bogged down. Count up the number of devices in your house, and I'm sure you'll see like your number is probably more than just, oh, I think I have 2 or 3. So here's what you need to do. Go to Eero.com/Kim, enter code Kim at checkout to get free next day shipping with your order. That's EERO.com/Kim, code Kim at checkout to get your Eero delivered with free next day shipping. Eero.com/Kim, code Kim. All right, coming up in just a few moments, it's a search engine that nobody likes to use, but apparently 100 million people do because, well, there was a big data breach. I'm going to tell you more about that. And we have our digital life hack. And of course, all of your phone calls you don't ever want to miss here on this coast to coast broadcast of the Kim Komando Show. Just a quick reminder is that for your pleasure and also convenience is that now you can schedule a time to speak with me here on the show. Really easy to do. Just head over to our website. That is, of course, komando.com. And on the right-hand side, there's a link. Fill out that form that says be a caller, because that's you. Be a caller, and we'll get right back with you. How about we start this show with Greg in Wichita, Kansas. Hi there, Greg.
How are you doing today?
I'm fantastic. What's happening in Wichita?
Well, you talking to you today is the best thing that has happened to me all year.
Oh, well, thank goodness for that. We are in the middle of a pandemic, so I'm not going to
I know, but I've had some health problems, and it all boils down to my question for you. The end of February, I had a massive heart attack and had to retire and leave my. Well, thank you. 3 months later, they put a pacemaker defibrillator in me.
Okay.
And a couple days from now, they will tell me if the pacemaker defibrillator is working or if I have to have a heart transplant.
You know what? Think about everything that you just said, Greg. I mean, number one, how blessed are you, right? To be able to have this?
I think very blessed myself.
Yeah, and also think of all the technology that has allowed everything that you just mentioned to happen, from that first stop in the emergency room to putting in the defib, the pacemaker, and now where you are today. It's really quite a feat. It's really quite an age that we live in, isn't it?
Oh, yes. And that brings me down to my question. I have the feeling I am going to get the heart transplant. And if and when that happens, there's no guarantee it's going to be the next day. I'm going to be put on a list.
Sure.
So if and when that happens, I need something to do during recuperation. I read. I have a Kindle, and I have the Nook from Barnes & Noble. I read both. TV anymore, there's so much political stuff on it.
Yeah.
I'm not interested. Plus, commercials nowadays, there was a stop set where 6 local attorneys vying for people who have been in crashes. I don't care. I don't need a check, so I'm not going to have a wreck and all. But I did find and received last night a Nintendo Switch Lite. Okay,
good. So a little handheld game. That's awesome.
I set it up. It's charging right now. But, back in college in the mid-'70s, I played pinball in the student union. If I wasn't in class, I played pinball. And I understand that you're a pinball wizard.
Well, yeah, I have 6 pinball machines.
Oh, Oh, my word.
I'll tell you, my most favorite one is that we were in Washington, D.C. a couple of years ago, and we were at the Smithsonian, and we were in the gift shop, because, you always have to go to the gift shop. And, and they had the Wizard of Oz pinball machine. Oh, my gosh, the best.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, it is the best. We have the Addams Family. We have Popeye, Police Force.
I've played the Addams Family. That is cool.
Yeah, it's very, very cool. So, but fortunately, you'll be able to bring pinball on your Switch because...
Well, again, the only games that I've really played are Pac-Man and Pong.
Well, no, you can get pinball games on that Switch, is what I'm saying. They have, Stern, right? The big name in pinball machines. Okay. They have a game. Also, there's Star Wars, the pinball machine game. There's, Williams. They have their own game. And so you might want to start looking at that. Now, I'll just tell you when you start buying a lot of games, like L.A. Noire is another game that you might enjoy, because if you like pinball, it does a different action, and it actually has a story behind it. So because you like to read, you might like that as well. They're like $50 each, right? And so,
yeah, I've seen what price the games are, and that's why I'm calling you.
Yeah.
I need a game that will teach me how to use my Switch Lite, plus entertain me, plus not put me in the poorhouse.
Well, what
I'm
I would
already on
sure.
What do
You're on social, I'm sure. Yeah. So here's what I would like you to do. Okay. Before you go spend $50 for this game, or like Pokemon, believe it or not, that one game is like $120, which is kind of crazy, is that you can get a subscription to Nintendo Switch Online for $4 a month. And so before you go spend all this money on games, try the online subscription, because when you do that, you might find some really great games that won't cost you $50, $25 each, but then also because you're going to be recuperating over a long period of time, is that will give you that variety of games as well. So try the online subscription first. And best wishes and our prayers go out to you, Greg, for a healthy recovery, however that path goes. And thank you so much for your call. Internet service providers are making money from logging your internet activity and selling your data. So make sure that 100% of your data is encrypted. Go to expressvpn.com/Kim and get 3 extra months of ExpressVPN for free. If you happen to be the one that used Bing, the mobile app, for your search, just know that Microsoft said this past week that, well, there's a little problem. 100 million records, that's right, have been exposed and are available free for the taking, probably on the dark web. We've got a lot of details on what you need to do next if you've ever used that app. So check it all out at Komando.com. Stay right where you are. We've got a special caller coming up you don't want to miss. I just want to pass along, over on the website, we've got a link to this, but Google Assistant now has a Workday break reminders feature that will prompt you to get up, move around every once in a while, get a glass of water, maybe go for the walk. And if you've been working from home for these past few months, you know that sometimes you can just sit there and not move. The app is getting the update now. It may not be available for everyone. But until then, I'm there for you. How about you just stand up for a minute right now and you stretch. You stretch. I didn't mean search, because I was thinking of Google search. There goes my mind. Hey, listen, without getting political or taking sides, there's a lot of concern about the upcoming elections. And at no time before now has our elections relied on technology so much. So joining us right now on the Kim Komando Show special caller line is Max Eddy. He's a senior security analyst at PC Mag. And thanks for being here, Max. I really appreciate it. It was such a great article about elections and technology. Let's start by talking about the voting machines themselves. I was astounded to read about the problems with the voting machines that were used in the Commonwealth of Virginia for 10 years, up until 2014. An unpatched version of Windows XP, Max?
I mean, I think the unpatched version of Windows XP is only the second worst thing about that machine. The fact that there's like Chinese MP3s and CD ripping software on there was really bewildering.
And the password, what was it again? Like 1234?
I think it was ABCDE. So, maybe better. I don't know. Hard to say.
Well, so what about our voting machines now? Are they?
Well, the
Are they okay? I mean, is the text more secure? I hope so.
Well, it's funny you should say that because at the beginning of 2020, everyone had pretty much sort of stopped talking about voting machines because we've come so far in such a short period of time. People were kind of settling into the general consensus that if we just get some paper ballots on there that can be audited after the fact, then we can have, fair and secure elections. And that was pretty much the plan. But COVID has come in and changed pretty much everything. Attacking voting machines is always going to be difficult. The United States has over 8,000 voting jurisdictions. Each one's slightly different. But now that we're going to be having all this other uncertainty besides all of the questions about elections, that's really made things much more difficult.
So when we talk about mail-in and paper ballots, I mean, I actually got a mail-in ballot. I signed up. It went through several steps of verification to make sure I had to type in the last 4 digits of my social. I had to, I had to give them my driver's license number, and then I had to verify the address. Is two-factor authentication working well?
Well, in terms of how you make sure that the right person is getting the right ballot, it's a little bit different than two-factor authentication, and every state is going to do it differently. But what's important to remember is that every single state has a mail-in voting service, and that's absentee ballots. Everyone has used them for decades. They're used by our troops serving overseas. So it's a very well-established system to get the ballots out to people, confirm that they're going to the right people, and then get them back. And the ballots themselves have some pretty unique features depending on which ballot. Again, each one's going to be different. There could be ultraviolet inks. There could be all sorts of security features that are just baked into the process. And then once the ballots are received, they have to go through the confirmation process. They call it curing, where they make sure that the right ballot is coming to the right person. And if they can't confirm it, they actually reach out to people in most cases, say, hey, is this your ballot? So it's a pretty well-established system.
It's interesting that you say that because in our last local election, is that I was driving to work and I was at a stoplight and I signed the outside of my ballot. And about 4 weeks later, I got a gal called me, and she said, "I'm just wondering, is this you? Because your signature didn't match other signatures." I was like, I'm like, okay, I was really bad. I was distracted driving, but I was stopped when I signed it just to make sure that, but all this is going to take time to count all these ballots, right?
Yeah, and that's going to be the trick of this because unlike other voting years where we have plenty of time to plan for how the election is going to be run, right now all the states are scrambling to quickly figure out how to do this safely. So some states, I think there's 5 U.S. states that primarily use mail-in voting, and those guys have pretty much got it figured out, but everyone else is going to have to scale up their operation much more quickly. These mail-in ballots tend to be counted with machines. They might not have enough of those machines to count them that quickly. And also, some states or jurisdictions might have specific laws about when those ballots could be counted. So you could send in your ballot early, but it may not be legally allowed to be counted until the day of the election, which means that there's going to be a lot of activity going on that day, which could slow down the results.
Yeah, I was going to say, which means we're probably not going to know the winner right away. How long do you think it will take before a winner could be announced?
I don't know. I spoke to several people in the industry, people who work with voting machines, people in government, and security researchers, and no one really has any idea of how long it could take. Someone at CISA pointed out that, we've got a lot of states that do mail-in voting already, and we don't have a problem getting election night returns from them, but other people had a different opinion on it. So I think the important thing to remember is that it's likely that this is going to take longer to count because it's going to be very different than any election in United States history, and that isn't necessarily a bad thing, or at least not a sign that something is going wrong with the election. It could, in fact, be a sign that everything is working as designed to ensure a secure and reliable election.
Hey, Max, thank you so much for joining us and talking about this research report that you did. It's over at pcmag.com, and we'll put a link to it over on our website, because if you are wondering what's behind all the voting and what's behind the technology that's being used, Max did a fabulous job of explaining it all in great detail, but in detail that everybody can understand. And again, we'll put a link to Max's article over at Komando.com. Max, again, thanks so much for being here. It's time now for our digital life hack, and this week is brought to you by Simply Safe. Here's the thing about home security companies. Most trap you with high prices, tricky contracts, and lousy customer support. So while there are a lot of options out there, there's only one no-brainer, and that's Simply Safe. You've heard me talk about Simply Safe for years. You know the reason why? because it works. It's fabulous. It's great. Simply Safe has everything you need to protect your home with none of the drawbacks of traditional home security. You get your sensors and cameras, you blanket every room, window, and door tailored specifically for your home. Professional monitoring keeps watch ready to send the police, fire, or medical professionals if there's ever an emergency. Let's just face it, we are living in really weird, uncertain times right now. It just seems like every time you turn on the news, there's violence everywhere. You need a home security system. I don't know why you don't have one. And with Simply Safe, you can set it up yourself in under an hour. You just peel and stick the sensors exactly where you need them. No technician is going to come by, no pushy sales guys, there's no contract, there's no hidden fees, there's no fine print. It's simple. It all starts at $15 a month. That's so affordable. So see why U.S. News and World Report named it the best overall home security of 2020. Now, I need you to go to this special address because if you do, you're going to love it because you get a free HD security camera. That's simplysafekim.com. Simplysafekim.com, you get a free HD security camera. Once again, that's simplysafekim.com. Every week, we put together a digital life hack tip so that this way you're in the know on certain issues. And today, we're going to be talking about 5 ways that you're wasting money on technology. So like, for example, maybe you don't need the latest and greatest, okay? Maybe you're on a budget, but you still need a laptop. You still need a new computer, a monitor, a phone, or whatever it may be. That's where I'd like you to check out the Amazon Renewed store. Here it is. These are refurbished products, usually hundreds of dollars cheaper than what they cost new. Plus, they come with a guarantee, a 90-day window for refunds or returns if it doesn't work as you expect. So here are some deals. An iPhone XS. That's one of Apple's current flagship phones. It's $400 cheaper than it is brand new. That's a considerable difference. We found a Dell business computer. Quad-core chips, 16 gigs of RAM, 2 terabyte hard drive, less than $250 rather. Okay, that's a massive discount. Okay, we have some links to other products I want you to check out. Also, you can check out alternative products. So maybe you can't afford a Peloton, so you can get a folding exercise bike from Lanos along with Apple's upcoming Apple Fitness Plus service. Huge savings there. Number 3 on our list is take advantage of coupons and offers. You may not think about this, okay, but there are promotions. If you are following certain vendors, if you know you're going to be buying their products, you may find a deal. There's also Honey. That's where you get these discounts automatically applied to your cart. You've heard me talk about it for years here on the Kim Komando Show. And then there are also websites like WikiBuy that give you side-by-side comparisons of prices from multiple retailers. And this way, you can see which sellers offer the best deals, and then you're going to make better choices when shopping online. WikiBuy can also show you coupons and loyalty deals that you may not have known about. You can also set up Google Alerts, and we'll give you the steps to do that. So anytime something is mentioned, you automatically get a notification. Number 4 is I want you to keep an eye out for hidden fees and extra charges. Look at your bills. I know it's not fun. I know it's not a good time, but check for any transaction fees. Recurring monthly fees, convenience fees, late fees, media package or bundles. That's pretty common with smartphone plans, or in-app purchases or app subscriptions. And finally, number 5, it's common sense, but if you're in tech, I know it's very difficult. Don't upgrade unless you absolutely have to. And we've got links and more details. Of course, you can always check it all out by heading over to the official homepage of the Kim Komando Show, which is, of course, komando.com. And when you're there, click the link that says Kim Show. Oh, it was another week. Another week of problems with Windows 10. Yes, I'm going to tell you more about those update issues and take more of your phone calls here on the Kim Komando Show. Hey, thanks for watching a past episode of my national radio show. That's why it's called The Kim Komando Show Rewind. Now, to get the entire show, all 3 hours, when it airs live, or you can get on demand, head over to getkim.com and you can become a member of the Komando community. There are a ton of perks. Aside from just the show, you get free ebooks, a place to get answers to your tech questions, and more of me. So come on, what are you waiting for? Click that link right now and become a member. And thank you.